each and everyone. My name is John Maripito Lang, a grade 11 STEM student from Tubagueran City National High School. So today we will discuss about graphing of circular functions of sine and cosine. So first, let's tackle about the graphing of circular functions sine. The general equation of sine is equal to y equals to a sine times bx plus c, close parenthesis, plus d. So our a in here is the amplitude, the b is the help to find the period, and the c is the phase shift, and the d is the vertical shift or indicates the middle line, which will be discussed later in this part of this video. So let's start now graphing a sine function. Let's start at the most basic one, which is y is equal to sine x. Since our a in here is the amplitude, and we all know that there is an invisible 1 beside sine, so our amplitude in here is the absolute value of 1. And we will know later why the amplitude is enclosed in absolute value sign. In the period, the b helps to find the period. There is a formula in finding the period, and that is 2 pi over b. 2 pi over, you know that there is an invisible 1 beside x, so our b in here is 1, so 2 pi over 1 is equal to 2 pi. Now, let's plot this period. Let's say here is 0, right? And here is 2 pi. Now, 0 plus 2 pi is equal to 2 pi, and 2 pi times 1/2 is equal to pi. Let's say here is the pi. And the middle point between 0 and pi is equal to pi over 2. And the middle point between pi and 2 pi is equal to 3 pi over 2. Now, since there is no vertical shift in our first equation, our middle line is 0. Now, our graph is in a wave form. The graph of the circular functions in a wave form. We all know that in a wave, there is a crest, and this is the trough. To know the maximum point of this crest and to know the bottom part of our graph, the amplitude plus the middle line. So 0 plus 1 is equal to 1, and 0 minus 1 is equal to -1. We add the amplitude, so 0 plus the amplitude is equal to 1, and this is the maximum point of our graph, and 0 minus the amplitude, or -1, is equal to -1, and that is the bottom part of our graph, or the minimum part of our graph. And now let's graph this. Let's say here is +1, and this is -1. Now let's draw a broken line. Let's say here is x and y. First, before we graph this, let's put this in a table. So first our x is 0, pi over 2, pi, and 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. These are in form of radians. So we will turn this into degrees. So let's substitute the x value in this equation. So if x is 0, what is y? So y is equal to sine. So y is equal to sine 0, and sine 0 is equal to 0. So here is our first point. Now, let's go to pi over 2, and pi over 2 is equal to 90. And sine 90 is equal to +1. Then our third x is pi, so sine pi is equal to 0. So let's plot this point. So 3 pi over 2, so sine 3 pi over 2 is equal to -1. Let's plot this, that 1. And last is 2 pi. So sine 2 pi is equal to 0. So let's check first. 0, y is 0. X is pi over 2, and y is +1, pi is 0, 3 pi over 2, -1, and 2 pi equals to 0. So let's Draw the one. This is in a curve. There. Done. So now let's proceed to our second equation, which is y is equal to negative sine x. Let's first indicate its amplitude. So there is invisible 1 in here besides sine. So our amplitude is still the absolute value of 1. It is not necessary to include the signs because it's an absolute value sign. Now let's proceed to the period. So our period is equal to 2 pi over b. Now b in here, there's an invisible 1 beside x, right? So that will be 2 pi over 1 is equal to 2 pi. Now let's plot this period here. Let's say this is 2 pi, and this is, no point is pi, this is the 0. This is pi over 2, and this is 3 pi over 2. Now to know the maximum, the topmost part and the bottommost part of our graph is the middle line. So 0 plus the amplitude, which is 1, is equal to 1. And that is the topmost part of our graph. So let's say this is 1. Now, to know the bottommost part of our graph, 0 minus 1, which is the amplitude, minus 1 is equal to negative 1. So this is what let's say this is negative 1. Now let's draw a broken line. There. So let's put this first in a graph. So here is, in a table. Let's put this first in a table. So x equals to 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. So our x, let's substitute the x to our equation. So first x is equal to 0, so sine 0 is still 0. 0 times the negative is still 0. So sine pi over 2 is equal to positive 1, but since there is a negative sign here, so positive 1 times negative 1 is equal to negative 1. Sine pi is equal to 0, and times 0 is equal to, and times negative, is equal to 0 still. So 3 pi over 2, sine 3 pi over 2 is equal to negative 1, but since there is negative sign here, so negative 1 times negative 1 is equal to positive 1. And last is sine 2 pi. So our sine 2 pi is equal to 0, and 0 times negative is still 0. Now let's plot these points. 0, 0, here is the first point, pi over 2, negative 1, pi is equal to 0, 3 pi over 2, positive 1, and last 2 pi is equal to 0. Now, we're done graphing our second equation. So before we proceed to the third equation, let's compare this two. The difference between these two equations is only the sign. Here is positive, and here is negative. As you can observe or see in our graph, in here in positive, yung direction niya is pataas. See that? At first, it's pataas. Now, here in y plus negative sine x, it starts in the middle, and then since this is negative, so yung direction niya is pababa. Pababa. Now, we should always remember that in graphing circular function sine, it always starts in the middle point here. It's very important to take note that in graphing sine, it always starts in the middle point. So now let's proceed to our third equation, or third example. Y is equal to 3 sine times 2x plus, there is 2 in here, I'm sorry. So y is equal to 3 sine times 2x plus 2. First, let's indicate its period. So the period here, our A here is 3, this is our A. So our amplitude is an absolute value of 3. And our period in here, since our formula is 2 pi over b, 2 pi over our b in here is 2, because as what I've said kanina, the b is beside the x only. And beside the x is 2, so 2 pi over 2 is equal to 5. our vertical shift. Our vertical shift here is in D, right? Our vertical shift or indicates the middle line. So our vertical shift in here is 2. So first, let's plot this period in here. Let's say this is pi, and this is, so just go back. Pi, and here is pi over 2. Between pi over 2 and pi is 3 pi over 4. And pi over 2, between pi over 2 and 0 is pi over 4. Now, since our vertical shift is 2, or as what I said in here, vertical shift is the middle line, let's plot this 2 here. 1, 2. Yeah, this is 2. Now, to know the topmost part and the bottommost part of our graph, the vertical shift or the middle point plus the amplitude. So 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. And this is the uppermost part of our graph. So 1, 2, 3, here, 5. Now to know the bottommost part of our graph is the vertical shift minus the amplitude is equal to -1. So 1, 2, let's say here is -1. Let's now draw a broken line. Now, as what I said kanina, the graph of circular function sine always start in the middle. So here is our first point. We can know the graph now without putting it in a table. Kasi we know naman it's floor, right? Right? Ganyan. And pag negative, ganito. Since this is positive, so ang yung direction niya is pataas. So pi over 4 is in here, 5, yan. And then pi over 2, back in the middle. 3 pi over 4 is here in -1, and pi back in the middle. So now, let's draw this one. Now, got it. So let's proceed to our fourth equation. Y is equal to -4 sine times 1/2 x plus 2. So our amplitude in here is, our aim here is 4, so the amplitude is absolute value of 4. The period in here is the b, our b is 1/2, so 2 pi over b, which is 1/2, this becomes 4 pi. Our vertical shift in here, or the d, since this is our d, it's still 2, alright? So 2 is the middle line. Now let's plot this period. Let's say this is 4 pi, and the middle point is 2 pi here, 3 pi, and here is now pi, and 0. So the vertical shift is 2, so our middle line is 1, 2. Now, to know our topmost and bottommost part of our graph, so 2 plus 4 is equals to 6, and 2, that's 2 minus the amplitude, or 2 minus 4 is equals to -2. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is -2. Let's draw a broken line. There. So let's plot these points. Since this is negative, our first point is in here. It always starts at the middle line, or at the middle point here. Our 0 always starts at the middle point. That's the most basic rule of graphing sine functions. We're pi here. Since this is negative, so yung direction niya pababa. Since it's pababa, it's stop at -2. And then 2 pi babalik sa middle. And the 3 pi is positive 6. And the 4 pi is babalik sa middle. If we connect these points, That. And that is the graph of number 4. So y is equals to negative 4 sine times 1 half x plus 2. Let's proceed to our last example, which is y is equal to 3 sine times 1 half x plus 5 minus 5. Our a in here is 3, so our amplitude is absolute value of 3. Our b in here is 1 half, so our period is 2 pi over 1 half is equals to 4 pi. Our d in here is negative 5. So our vertical shift is negative 5. So now, our phase shift, since this is a d, to get our phase shift, we will, this part, we will equate this into 0. So phase shift is 1 half x plus pi is equal to 0. Now, let's find the x. So x is 1 half x is equal to negative pi, so x is equal to negative 2 pi. Yung the difference between pag may phase shift na siya dito is yung upper part and the most bottom part of the graph. Ang pag-find niya is the phase shift, so negative 2 pi plus the period, which is 4 pi. This is equals to 2 pi. Eto, this is the maximum or the topmost part of the graph. Or the maximum in here. Here pala, sa x natin. Sa x natin. This is the maximum. And our phase shift in here, our phase shift means also a horizontal shift. So this is negative 2. Our phase shift right is negative 2. So let's plot this. Here, this is, let's say, here, this is negative 2 pi. Now, as Martin said, para makuha natin yung maximum point dito, let's add the phase shift and the period. So, phase shift plus period, which phase shift is negative 2 pi plus the period is 4 pi is equal to 2 pi. So, let's say dito yung 2 pi. Now, may dalawang points tayo, the negative 2 pi and the 2 pi. So, let's indicate first the middle of this one kasi magpa-plot tayo ng limang points dito sa x niya. So, negative 2 pi plus 2 pi equals to 0. And 0 divided 2 is still 0. So, 0. 0 plus 2 pi is equals to 2 pi. And 2 pi divided 2 is equal to pi. Yan. And negative 2 pi plus 0 is equal to negative 2 pi. Negative 2 pi divided 2 is equal to negative 5. Negative pi. Now, since our vertical shift is negative 5, or the middle line is negative 5, let's cut this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 5. To know the topmost and the bottommost part of this graph, so negative 5 plus our amplitude is 3, this is negative 2, and negative 5 minus 3 is negative 8. So this is our negative 2, 1, 2, 3, negative 8, first row, 9, 8. Yeah. Since this is a positive, right? The first point always starts in the middle, and we will extend that until here. Okay. So our first point in here is negative 2 pi, and like yung sinasabi kanina, na pag mag-start tayo ng graphing sa sine, it always starts at the middle point. So negative 2 pi is here. Our middle point is negative 5. Since this is positive 1, so taas yung direction niya. So negative pi, dito tayo sa negative 2, then then bababa ulit. So, babalik sa middle point, and then bababa here, then babalik sa middle point. Now, let's draw this one here. That's all for today, and thank you for listening.
Salamat.